There are 8 garden beds sitting behind me that eventually we want producing food for this place. But right now, we're not planting any of them because taking on 8 beds at once would be fucking stupid. We've only been here a week. We don't properly understand the soil, the weather, the pests, or even what grows well here. So instead of starting with the garden, we're starting much smaller, with this. A handful of old seed trays, some egg cartons, whatever materials we could find around the property, and the first seeds for what we hope eventually become a much bigger garden. This is grow with nothing. I think one of the reasons starting something new feels overwhelming is because we're comparing the beginning to somebody else's finished version. You look at a productive garden and see a bed full of vegetables, everything green, everything growing, but that's not where it started. And if I try and turn these 8 beds into that immediately, I'm probably going to waste a lot of time and probably a lot of plants. Because honestly, I don't understand this garden yet. I don't know exactly what grows well here, what struggles, how the seasons work, what pests we're going to deal with, or even exactly what the restaurant would benefit most from us growing. So before trying to build the finished garden, we're starting with something much smaller. We're going to start creating the plants that might actually fill it. The obvious next step would have been to go shopping, seed trays, pots, a nursery rack, probably a whole bunch of other shit I could convince myself I needed. But before buying anything, I went looking around El Campito, and it turns out we already had most of it. I found some old seed trays that had basically become tiny weed gardens. There were empty egg trays coming out of the kitchen. We found an old rusted metal stand. I already had a collection of seeds. Nothing matched. None of it looked particularly impressive, but none of that matters to a seed. It just needs somewhere to grow. So we cleaned everything up and started there. It's crude, but it works. And this is probably the point where you can spend another 3 weeks researching. What soil mix should I use? Which seeds should I start first? How deep? How much water? How much sun? When's the perfect time? And obviously, some of that matters. But eventually, you've got to put a fucking seed in some dirt. So that's what we did. Beetroot, tomatoes, chives, silver beet, spinach, cilantro, painted daisies, red sunflowers, dwarf sunflowers. And then we were given another pile. Basil, lettuce, more tomatoes, red peppers, green peppers, celery. Will all of them grow? Probably not. Have I got every decision right? Almost definitely not. But now we've got something much more useful than another hour of research. We've got something to observe. Because putting seeds in dirt is the easy part. Now I have to learn this place. We're on the coast of Ecuador. It's hot, humid, there's strong sun, heavy rain, dry periods, and a ridiculous amount of life trying to eat, climb over, live inside, and otherwise fuck with whatever we're doing. I'm learning what needs shade, what can handle the sun, how quickly things dry out, what insects we're dealing with, and I'm definitely not going to figure it out all by myself. This week I met Natty. He's already been working in this garden. He's going to be helping me on Saturdays, and that gives me something far more useful than pretending I know what I'm doing. Someone who actually knows this place, because you can read books, watch videos, ask AI, and all of those things are useful, but someone who's spent years growing things in the soil you're literally standing on knows things you don't. So part of building this garden is going to be learning when to experiment and when to shut up and listen. Once we had the trays planted, we needed somewhere to put them. Again, we didn't need to build some beautiful permanent nursery. We needed shade, somewhere off the ground, and somewhere we could keep an eye on everything. That old rusted stand we found? Good enough. We set it up, created some temporary shade, loaded the trays onto it, and that was version 1. Eventually, I'd love to build a proper nursery here, something that works beautifully, something that'll last. But I don't know enough to build that yet, and that's something I'm trying to get better at. Not building the perfect version of something before I've actually used the shit version. Build version 1, use it, find out what's wrong with it, then build version 2. And right now, there's honestly not much to look at. A rusty stand, a bunch of mismatched trays, and quite a lot of dirt. But underneath that dirt, things have started happening. And every day gives us information. What germinates first? What doesn't germinate at all? What's getting too much sun? What needs water? What's being eaten? What thrives here and what doesn't? And every answer makes the next decision a little easier. Eventually, some of those seeds should move into the 8 beds. Then we'll learn something completely different. And whatever survives that might eventually end up on someone's plate at the restaurant. That's a long way from where we are today, but at least now we've started. Maybe you're not starting a garden. Maybe there's something completely different you've been putting off. Learning to build, cooking more of your own food, starting a business, learning a language, whatever. I think we make these things harder when we stare at the finished version and try and work backwards through everything we need to get there. Maybe you don't need the whole plan. Maybe you just need to ask, what's the smallest thing that I can build today that makes the next step possible? For this garden, it's a nursery, some old trays, a rusted stand, a handful of seeds, and somewhere to start. If half of it fails, we'll learn why and plant again. If it works, we'll have something to put in those beds. Either way, we're further ahead than when those seeds were sitting in a packet. You don't need to build everything at once. You just need to build the thing that makes the next thing possible. This is Grow with Nothing.